One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet whom millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
All right, here with more. She is the host of the hit show, the Faulkner Focus, and of course, Outnumbered. Our friend Harris Faulkner is back with us. I think this is a great idea. I got a lot of good feedback. I know I lived in Georgia for 4 years. People that were there absolutely loved it. They thought it was a great town hall. What was it like from your perspective? How did you feel it went?
You know, the day changed from the moment I got up in the morning with what I expected, Sean, because I didn't know that they were going to break records and make history today with their early voting on a first day. And it suddenly put everything into perspective, just how close we are until Election Day, really what's at stake. Listening to these women who some of them had left their jobs to be here today because they wanted to be among a crowd asking real questions that felt like reality to them and wanting to get realistic answers, not just a pat on the head, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I mean, the questions that came about abortion, people who are voting, whether they have made up their minds or not, for whomever they're voting, abortion now is in this election because the left has thought, well, that's how you reach women. And so today just suddenly everything came into a different light. And it was such an intimate setting that I just know that people were edified by what they saw. Look, I'm not going to say that it made up minds tonight. 6% of the state of Georgia has undecided voters. And when you consider that how tight this race was in the last election for both candidates, 12,000 votes separated them, 6% of voters in Georgia, likely some of those deciders might be in that room tonight.
Let me ask you this. Because to me, when I think of average Americans, let's put demographics out the window. Don't we all want the same thing? Don't we all want law and order, safety, security? Don't we all want a secure border? I think most Americans do. Don't we want to go to the grocery store and not have to worry about putting things on credit cards like so many Americans have to do? Don't you want to pay less for gasoline? Don't you want to know that we're not allowing unvetted people into the country? Those to me are the bread and butter issues that impact families. Was that a big part of this?
Yeah. 100%. I mean, there were times when even the crew and I were talking after. I mean, people were brought to tears by some of the questions. I mean, you think you can put yourself in the place. Like, that's what we do. We interview people, right? And we're covering the news and we know the polls and all of that. But when someone can't pay for daycare and they tell a former president of the United States that they don't have the $1,400 for one child for daycare, they have to make some choices in their lives. Like, maybe I don't even go to work. Maybe we just, I don't know, go on the public dole. What are my choices at this point? And the question came up during the town hall, Mr. President, is there anything that you can help parents like me do to raise our children, to deal with the cost of raising children in America? I mean, I was really moved. And it was an intimate setting in a barn in Cumming, Georgia, which I was born about 45 minutes from here. So I hadn't seen this area in a very long time. Yeah. And it was just touching. It really was. And Harris, I think the former president, too, he didn't back away.
Harris Faulkner sat down with former President Donald Trump for a town hall in Georgia, focusing on women's issues.
Facing the question of abortion, women are entitled to do what they want to and need to do with their bodies. Why is the government involved in women's basic rights?
Every legal scholar, the great ones, every lawyer, but the Democrats, the Republicans, the liberals, the conservatives, they wanted it brought out of the federal government and brought back to the states for a vote of the people. Through really the courage of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do this.
Harris Faulkner joins us now with a preview of the town hall airing on the Faulkner Focus later this morning. Hey, Harris, congratulations.
Oh, thank you, Ainsley. Thank you very much. And
You're
it's so
welcome.
wonderful to be able to preview with you. You and I both know these issues so well because we cover them every day. And so what I'm excited for people to see is for the whole thing unedited. Because when that woman says women have a right to make their choices for their own bodies, I want you to hear exactly what he says immediately following. When he talks about where we are as a country, and he corrects himself. He said, I don't want to say that things are destroyed. I want to say that they're being destroyed and that we have hope and that we can bring things back. I mean, he is looking forward. He is hopeful. Those are things that we really haven't heard him express as much. Because, you know, it's the talking points with both the candidates and they're attacking themselves, you know, each other and so on and so forth. But last night was wonderful. It was all women in that audience, every walk of life. And women's issues are everybody's issues. So we hit a lot. Their questions were great, by the way.
I thought it was so smart of him to sit down with women. And I'm so anxious to see this. I'll be watching today at 11. Women are concerned about so many things. We're the ones who do the grocery shopping most of the time. So putting food on our table, the cost of all the groceries. And also, don't you remember when you became a mother, how expensive childcare costs is? And I know a voter asked a question.
Much more now.
That's true. All right, listen to this. This was a voter in the audience asking about childcare.
What kind of realistic change is that? Do you think you can provide single parents, married parents, any kind of parent to just simply afford children in today's world with the way things are?
I gave you the largest tax cuts in the history of our country, okay? Larger than the Reagan cuts, larger. I understand exactly what you're saying. We're going to readjust things so that it's fair to everybody, because it's really not fair to everybody.
Yeah, that is a big concern, Harris, because if we have a tax cut, more money in our bank account, we can save for college, we can pay for our groceries, and we can pay for that child care. What was the biggest concern you heard yesterday?
Oh, it's the economy. I mean, and what you didn't see from that you'll see at 11 a.m. on the Faulkner Focus, it took her a minute to gather herself, Ainsley. Like, there were a couple of women who were brought to deep emotion about their struggle right now and putting a great face on it. Look, they're going to their jobs, they're doing all the things, they're doing life right, they're paying their taxes, they're doing everything they need to do, and the struggle is mightily. And the president and I went back and forth a bit about what real pricing and reduction of pricing has to look like. It was a conversation. The women and the former president did most of the talking. Like, I wanted the country to see their questions. I don't know if we have time for, I believe we have another question here that people can get a taste of. Do we have time?
Yeah, we can do it. We have time. Let's watch it.
My son is a Georgia Bulldog. He was on campus the day Laken Riley was murdered. How quickly, in a sanctuary city like they're calling Athens, Georgia, how quickly can you remove those threats to our society?
We can do things in terms of moving people out. We can move them out of the sanctuary cities. We're going to end all sanctuary cities in the United States, and we're going to go back to normalcy, and we're going to have law and order.
Harris, such a great college, UGA. A lot of our friends go there, and when you drop your kid off for college, you worry about their safety, and then to find out it's a sanctuary city and to learn Laken Riley's story was just horrible.
100%.
And you did it in Georgia, so that was a big concern for all those moms.
Yeah, I mean, I was born in the state, so this is the first place that my own parents began dreaming about what my life might be like as a newborn. So I really understand the women. And look, not everybody is a mom, but everybody is part of the rising and the raising of America. And so we're all invested. If one person is not able to have the dream, if the Lord has put that in their lives to raise their children because of decisions that are made that don't have to be made that way, then that affects everybody. What the president was talking about, though, about taking people out of sanctuary cities, he wants, if you are illegal, you got to go. If you've committed a crime and you've been here, you got to go faster. If you're already breaking the law by coming in illegally and then you commit further crime, you're first on the list. And he thinks that once you do that, you can sort of break this trend of sanctuary cities expecting so much more than everybody else gets because of their status to be a stopping point. He said there can be no stopping points for illegals. I mean, it was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I love women. We all love women. Our voices matter, and we're voters too. So I just am so excited to watch this.
We're the biggest group.
Well, good morning. Up early this morning for this show. It's 10:42. Unlike the Trump events, let me just give you guys some background here. This is not a Trump event per se. This is Harris Faulkner's show where she's did her interview or town hall last night with Donald Trump. So it's going to be a hard timing. It will start exactly at about 10:59 or 11 o'clock. We won't be any waiting, so make sure, go get your coffee, go get your donuts, whatever you need. Be back here at 11 o'clock. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just saying we won't be waiting around for him to come out with the Secret Service and everything else. This will start specifically at 11 o'clock. So what she did last night, she did a, how can I describe it? A live taped interview, sort of like what we're supposed to see tonight at 6 p.m. with Bret Baier, where they sat down, they shot the entire thing, and then they are going to show it today at 11 o'clock. Interesting thing about this was it was a town hall specifically just with women. There's no men in the audience, no men asking questions. It's all women. I think it's genius for Trump to do that. I don't know if he thought it up or if Harris thought it up, how it came about, but being able just to speak for however long, whether it's a half hour or an hour, I don't know how long it goes for, but it's just women. And you can see the faces, and you can see in the background women nodding or shaking their head. We're going to see all that emotion. Harris brought up a statistic, and she said 6% of the people in Georgia are undecided. I don't know how that can be possible. I don't know how anybody can be undecided at this late date. But I guess there's some people who still can be swayed one way or the other. Obviously, they haven't been shopping, and they haven't been filling up their gas tanks, and they haven't been paying rent or paying mortgages or doing anything in Ohio or Aurora, Colorado, or paying attention to anything, but they're still undecided. I don't know who you are. Raise your hand because we're here to help you if you're undecided. Speaking of undecided, I have to wonder at this point if Polymarket is hacked. These numbers from Polymarket are just crazy. This is as of about 10 minutes ago. Look at that number. Look at those numbers. 59.7 to 40.2. It is shaping up to, I mean, when you look at that number, you just shake your head and go, there must be something wrong with the data. There's no possible way. it could be that crazy. But nonetheless, that's the data. It is what it is. 59 to 40. Nearly a 19.5%. Nearly a 20-point difference at this point. I'm not even going to really dig into that because it's like, oh my God. She must look at that and just completely freak out. You know who else must freak out? The pollsters who are trying to tell everybody, oh, it's actually close. Oh, it's 50-50 shot here. You know, we don't really know who's going to win, who's going to lose. It's like a 50-50 shot. I'm just here to give you the data. I told you what my feelings are many times. I showed you the black vote. I could show you. I could do every single day a show about black people turning away from the Democrats. There is video after video after video. They pop up on X. They're all over the place. It's just it's incredible at this point. And speaking of X, some of you guys have come over and joined our party at the Fanfare community. And if you're watching on X, because we're simulcasting this again, thank you for joining. I got this message this morning. Timothy Norfolk, the amount of information on X is unbelievable. Thanks for turning me on to it, Barry. Been telling you. Been telling you. These shows on the news don't cover anything. They pick and choose what they're gonna force feed you, and then of course they expect you to decide, just to watch what they have to say, which is why maybe some of those people are in the 6% undecided, because they get force-fed crap and they think it's real news. When I've been telling you for months about the black vote, and I've been telling you for months about different things that the media is lying to people about. And then, let's see, do I have enough time to get into this? Yeah, we got about 10 minutes. And let me tell you about this. I dropped a poll here in today's broadcast, and it says 65% of you don't know what happened with the FBI. So, let me take you back, I don't know, a month or so ago to the debate with David Muir and Lindsey and Kamala just shaking her head and making fun of Trump. And some people said that, Kamala beat Trump badly. Little did they know that ABC News, in conjunction with some really faulty data, completely blew it. And why is it we always find out this information after the fact? In this regard, I don't mind that this information is after the fact, because it drops just before the election. I want to take you back. I'm going to take you back to the night of the debate, and I want you guys to basically just listen to this exchange. You might remember it, okay? Let's listen to this.
Crime is down all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the...
And Kamala's shaking her head. No, crime's not down.
The roof, despite their fraudulent statements that they made.
And he called it a fraudulent statement. Right then and there. Trump knows the data. He was a former president. He gets the same data probably people in the government do. Probably even more than Kamala, and she's shaking her head. Oh, Trump's lying. Oh, he's lying.
Crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. And it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country.
So David Muir decides he's going to wedge himself in there and tell Trump, you're wrong. The FBI, the FBI at this point is, that's the benchmark, because they've been so right about so many different things. He decides to interject and tell Trump, hey, listen, you're wrong. The FBI says you're wrong. Yeah, that's what he said.
Excuse me, the FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst.
So Trump decides he's going to tell ABC, this is why your data is wrong. They didn't include the worst cities. They just conveniently left it out so that it looked good for the debate. And it gave David Muir and his cohorts a little bit of a, thing that they could basically boost up Kamala with, and they completely lied. Today, about an hour ago, we find out, drum roll please, breaking, the FBI just quietly updated their crime data for 2022. Turns out it was missing thousands of crimes. The updated data shows there were 80,000 more violent crimes than in 2021. There were an additional almost 1,700 murders, additional 7,800 bad things to women, 34,000 robberies, 37,000 aggravated assaults. They buried the lead. They buried the information they didn't want anybody to know. So the FBI put out false data. The White House patted themselves on the back, and it was an effing lie. Yeah, a statement from Vice President Harris on record declines in crime. They lied. They completely lied. And as this gentleman says, this is 1,000% straight out of 1984. They do this enough, they'll be able to rewrite history on the fly. And as Lives of TikTok said, these corrections always go just one way. You know how they always have to revise the job numbers because they got those wrong. Hey, we got a gazillion jobs. Oh, no, we didn't have that many jobs. And then they have to bring the job numbers down, and then they have to increase the crime numbers. It is October 16th, little over 2 weeks before the election, and the FBI is like, yeah, we lied. We're sorry. It happens. Shit happens. You know, put a 1. How do you miss 1,700 people getting killed? How do you just completely leave that out? Well, we know why. So if you're in that 6% of people who feel like you're, undecided, the reason you're undecided is because you're consuming the wrong news. They're lying to you. The media is doing nothing but spewing propaganda. Let me tell you something else. Do you guys remember? And you probably do. A couple days ago, I did a video, and in that video, I told you about how, and showed you, it was a chart from Elon Musk. And in that chart from Elon Musk, I was showing you specifically how they have used certain words over, a few years that nobody ever looked at before. And many of you saw that and said, wow, so they just started using this word. Yeah. Well, I got another one for you, because it just shows you the amount of gaslighting, I would just say straight up brainwashing, that the media is doing on people right now, and people don't even know it. Not only are they changing things, they're just lying to you. And they're changing our language, and they're using words that never were used before. Elon Musk, who is campaigning for Trump today, unbelievably, posted this and went out to his, gazillion followers. And this was posted by Michael Schellenberger. This is the guy who dropped a whole bunch of information on the previous Twitter files and everything else. The media say we must give the government more power to fight misinformation online. We must not. The only way to fight misinformation is through free speech. What the media really wants is the power to censor us. And it's easy to see why. Very few Americans trust them. And as you can see, since 1976, when it seems as though there was a high in media trust, it is now at the lowest point in 72 years. 72 years. Why? Because unlike the 6% of people who consider themselves at this point to be undecided, the rest of us are waking up and realizing you're being spoon-fed pablum. And I want to show you this. Where's the other? I'm looking for this other chart that I have to show you. Okay, here. This is a good one. So in addition to them showing you fake news, as Trump was the person who talked about it, and he was the only person talking about it, Elon Musk put this out. The term misinformation picked up popularity around 2016. I wonder why. I'm going to show you the graph in a second. Elon said probably some spreading misinformation, that misinformation is a real thing. Look at this graph. This is when the term misinformation started being used. Right there is 2016. What happened in 2016? The same thing that's happening right now. As soon as Donald Trump began running for office and then winning, you can see the chart for yourself. Nobody talked about misinformation. In the history, 1970, you're talking 70 years again, it was never brought up. Look at it now. Sky high, straight up, no doubt about it. If you're in that 6% and you're undecided, forget the parties, doesn't matter Democrat, doesn't matter Republican. What matters is you need to get with it and understand everything you know about our government, everything you know about our media is complete BS. At this point, they are doing everything to shape minds and pull the wool over your eyes. All right, so we're almost ready for the show. It's next at 11 a.m. We got about 2 minutes. I got it ready to go. But just understand, if you're in 6%, wake up. Absolutely wake up. Here, let me slap you. It's only 11 o'clock in the morning. What the hell are you doing listening to these people? It's all an act. It is 1984. We didn't know it was going to be, basically a guide manual, a manual for people to actually operate. But if there's still 6% who don't understand what's going on in this country, maybe you should sit this one out. How about just don't vote? Because if you still don't know what's happening in this country, if you're okay with paying gas prices that you're paying, if you're okay with paying for groceries at the prices they are, if you're okay with 29% credit card interest rates, if you're okay with high rent, if you're okay with high mortgage, if you're okay with all that, with newcomers by the millions, if you're okay with all that, please, dear God, stay home. That's stay undecided. Don't decide now because it's too late. You have already shown us by your willingness to be called undecided that you're not capable of forming your own decision and you're waiting for somebody else to tell you. That to me is disgusting. I'm sorry. I don't mean like piss anybody off, but damn. That's all I can say. I said from day one, Obama was from overseas. They lied to... Yeah. That's the kind of thing that gets you zapped over here. Exactly. Which is why I'm simulcasting over on X. X is the future. And the future is here. And the future on November 5th, when that man gets elected and he brings in Elon Musk, game-changing. Absolute game-changing. Barry Stream keeps locking on my end. Got to be your connection, because I'm looking at it here. I'm looking at it on my phone. I've got a second computer here. Sorry, can't say it. But damn, I'm serious. At this point, if you're undecided, who are you? What could you possibly be? You've lived for 4 years in basic hell in America, and you're thinking, I wonder who I should vote for. Then you're okay with everything going on. Either that or your mind is fried. Maybe try breaking out of prison. Breaking out of that, go seek out the Bible. There's something wrong with you if you've lived for this 4 years under this regime and you're undecided. I would have more respect for you if you said, yeah, I'm a white dude for Harris and I'm going to vote for Kamala. Go. That tells me you're already, you admit your funk is just taking over your brain. But if you're saying you're undecided, what the hell could you be undecided about? Seriously, I'm not making fun of you. I'd love to know what you possibly could be undecided about. I don't mean it. Yeah, I'm kind of hot this morning. So we're looking at things here. We're almost ready to go. Democrats, mafia. Yeah, if your government can just ignore murders. And here we go, people. And we're ready to rock. Let me just make sure.
I traveled to the beautiful town of Cumming, just outside of Atlanta in the battleground state of Georgia. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. The race to the White House in that state could not be closer. Trump holds a lead over Vice President Kamala Harris of less than a full percentage point in the Real Clear Politics average of polls. If there is any doubt about whether voters there are invested, this will put those doubts to rest. Early voting kicked off in Georgia, and the record was shattered yesterday. More than 300,000 people casting a ballot in a single day, more than doubling the number from 2020. And this is key information. You'll see why in just a moment. In 2020, President Biden won the women's vote by 12 points over former President Trump. And a recent Fox News poll shows Vice President Kamala Harris is up among women by 10 points. The audience there, along with me, the former president, all women. They put very specific and sometimes very personal questions to Trump on issues which matter most to them. The economy, crime, safety, abortion, childcare, illegal immigration, protecting women and girls in sports. Those questions and Trump's answers now.
I want to introduce the 45th President of the United States, the Republican nominee for this year's presidential election, Donald J. Trump. Welcome. So I have to tell you,
Wow.
I'm getting a little taste of what it's like to roll with you. So early voting, just so you know, for the state of Georgia,
Everybody, let me know if the sound volume is okay.
people in early vote. That will break a record in the state. And I cannot believe how people come for you already. I don't know if you know this, but early voting is a sign that people are coming out, as you know, but it's also a sign that there might be a few people who have something to say. So I want to share with you Senators Warnock and Ossoff, Mayor Bottoms and Atlanta Mayor Bottoms, and Amba Thurman's family have come out on a press call, and they're doing what's called a pre-buttal 2-hour town hall right now.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah? And I want to
Get better ratings, I promise.
I want to get your reaction to something, because I was a little thrown aback about how quickly this fight would start. And, oh, by the way, Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota who wants to be the next vice president, his wife is showing up.
Where?
Tomorrow, here.
It's all right.
Yep, she has an issue with the women's issues town hall. All right, so let's take a look at what Senator Warnock had to say. I want to get, for the first time, former President Trump's reaction to what's going on here in Georgia. Let's watch.
If you to not vote is a vote. It's a vote for Donald Trump. It's to send this man one step closer to the White House, which finally, let me say, will be literally dangerous for so many of the people that we know. Dangerous, as we've demonstrated, for women. But this man, let me remind the Black men who are listening, the men of color, communities of color, he will be dangerous.
Shut up. Just shut up.
You are up with minority voters.
Yeah.
Vice President Kamala Harris is hurting right now in that category of voting bloc.
Right.
And they know all women are at this town hall. This is a pre-buttal from a short time ago. Your reaction?
Well, I would say this. We just got the endorsement of Border Patrol all over the country. Border Patrol, virtually every sheriff's department, every police department, the Fraternal Order of Police, 400,000 police, the biggest in the country. We have every single I don't think they have a policeman or a policewoman single. And we have the border, we had the safest border in the history of our country. Now we have the most unsafe border in the history of our country. So when you talk about safety, we had, it was just announced, as you know, last week, 13,099 murderers were released into our country. Drug dealers, drug addicts, everybody is released into our country. We've never had anything like this. We've never had a mess like this. 625,000 criminals released into our country, along with 21 million people. We have no idea who they are. And, you know, that's just a soundbite. I don't know this guy, but he got lucky as hell to win, I'll tell you that much. But it's a soundbite that they like to use. But remember this, law enforcement's with me 100%, and we have to keep our community safe. And we have to take these murderers that they've allowed to come through open borders without knowing anything about them. We have to take those people and we have to remove them. We have to get them out of our country.
We're going to get into all of it. I want, first of all, a show of hands. Who voted early today? All right. Sounds good. Oh, and they're waving.
Who did they vote for? I wonder.
That was the first thing you wanted to know. How many voted for me?
Who did you vote?
So another show of hands. How many of you actually feel good about how the economy is right now? No.
Yeah.
You have our first question on the economy. We will start there. Your first name, please, and tell us your hometown.
My name is Lisa, and I live in the city of Milton. First of all, welcome back to Georgia, President Trump.
Thank you very much.
Americans are concerned about the state of our economy. Democrats argue that your policies favor the wealthy, especially through tax cuts for billionaires, while the middle class continues to struggle these last 3.5 years under the Biden-Harris administration. Could you outline your plans to revitalize the economy again as president and policies that specifically support the middle class when reelected?
Sure. Thank you very much. Great question. And sort of an easy question for me to answer because we have tremendous wealth in this country, but it's under our feet. It's called liquid gold. And we're going to bring down your energy costs, and with that, everything's going to follow. We're also going to make it possible for companies to come into our country again. You know, we've lost so many businesses. If you're in furniture making, like in North Carolina, they're flocking out of our country because we have politicians that don't know what to do. We're bringing them all back. We have a tax rate that's going to lure them, and we're going to protect them with tariffs so they can make money and so they don't get stolen. But we're going to have record-setting jobs. And just to know, I mean, the advantage I have is that I've done it. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We had never had an economy. And remember this, we also had the safest border in the history of our country. We never had a border that safe. The famous graph that I looked at, you know, my all-time favorite piece of paper. I mean, even my all-time favorite. I love that piece of paper. But that shows you, that day, the day I left office, the border was the safest it ever was in the history of our country. We had the fewest number of people. We have the least amount of drugs. Everything was human trafficking, which is now 12 times higher than it was when, and it's trafficking, I hate to say this, mostly in women. It's a vicious thing because of the internet and because of this administration, maybe more so than the internet. But we had the safest border. We had the best economy. Think of it, a combination of security and finance and all of the other things. And we're going to make it even better. We're going to make the border even better. But the border can't, I mean, we did things with the border that nobody could have done, including we built 571 miles of wall. And that wall worked. Then I got Mexico to give us soldiers, a lot of soldiers, 28,000 soldiers to protect us. I said, you have to protect us because you're letting all of these criminals come into our country. You have to protect us. They said, we're not going to do it. I said, good, then I'm just going to tariff all your goods until you do it. They said, like I said, we're going to do it. And they gave us the soldiers. So we had great protection, and we had the best economy in the history of our country.
Okay, let's get back to the economy. According to America's Health Ranking Organization, 70.7% of Americans aged 65 and over voted in the past presidential election. So women are the largest registered and active group of voters. Social Security is important to some women, and people over the age of 65 are a very large voting bloc as well. You have said that you would not tax some of that Social Security money. How would that work?
We're not going to tax any of the Social Security money, the benefits that go to seniors, because what you've done, what they've done to you with inflation is a disaster. It's the economy. But in terms of really the numbers, it's the inflation. We had the worst, they say it's in 48 years, I say ever. We had the worst inflation in the history of our country, and the ones that really got hurt the worst are people that are on a fixed income, like our seniors. And I said, we're not going to tax Social Security benefits on our seniors, and we're not going to do that. And we can pay for that. And that will a little bit more than even make up to what you, I mean, you lost a fortune. You went up, again, they say 21%, I think it's 50%. And all of that money, you're on a fixed income. People that were buying breakfast, they could no longer buy breakfast. Yeah. They have a case, a woman goes up to the counter with 3 apples, and then she says, oh, I can't afford it. She brings 1 apple back. That's not supposed to be our country. That's not our country.
All right, let's move to a big campaign issue. I don't know if many people thought this would be where we are at this point, but in the election and in this country, transgender issues have become a focal point in races up and down the ballot. How many of you are worried about biological men and boys competing against women and girls in sports? Just show me. That's almost the entire, that is the entire room. And I know you have a question.
I do.
By the way, excuse me, it's so crazy. It's so crazy.
Your question, yes. Your name and your hometown.
My name is Linda, and I'm from Milton, Georgia.
Good.
But originally Brooklyn, New York.
Oh,
I'd get that in there. My question is, how do you plan on addressing the transgender issue in women's sports? I have 9 grandchildren, 6 of them female, all playing sports, and we are very concerned for their safety, not just on the field and the courts, but in their locker rooms as well.
Right. It's such an easy question, and everybody in the room, and you know that answer, we're not going to let it happen. You look, just yesterday, they had a volleyball match, did you see that?
Yeah. Where
a person that transitioned, okay? We have to be very careful because this can terminate your political career if you say it's slightly off, all right? But transitioned from man to female and was on a volleyball, and I saw the slam. It was a slam. I never saw a ball hit so hard, hit the girl on the head. But other people, even in volleyball, they've been permanently, I mean, they've been really hurt badly, women playing men. But you don't have to do the volleyball. We stop it. We stop it. We absolutely stop it. You can't have it. It's a man playing in the game. I mean, physically, from a muscular standpoint, even if it was a little bit less, maybe they do all sorts of tests and drugs and everything else. Look at what's happened in swimming. Look at the records that are being broken.
So how do you stop it? Do you go to the sports leagues? Do you go to the Olympic
councils? You just ban it. The president bans it. You just don't let it happen. Not a big deal.
You have the next question. I know. Hi. My name is Rachel Rachel S. here from Cumming, Georgia. I'm a single mom to 2 kids here. And just in 3.5 years, my child tax credit has decreased by 80%, almost.
You get what? Excuse me?
Her child tax credit has decreased by 80%.
That's
sorry, my child tax credit has decreased by almost 80%. Daycare for the lowest amount is roughly $1,400 a month for 1 child here.
Yeah.
Last year I broke my neck. I almost lost.
You have a beautiful voice, by the way.
Thank you so much. Yep. I'm having a panic attack right now. Like, don't panic. I'm right here with you. But last year I had broken my neck and I tried applying for any kind of assistance and was denied because I did not make less than $700 a month. And I'm shaking like a freaking leaf. I cannot stop. So I could not afford daycare. I obviously was having to go through physical therapy and a lot of issues, and I'm still having issues to this day.
Right, I understand.
But what kind of realistic changes that do you think you can provide single parents, married parents, any kind of parent to just simply afford children in today's world with the way things are?
Right? It is not fair.
No.
You never heard of Ivanka, right? Ivanka. My daughter drove me crazy on this. We had the simplest, most beautiful I gave you the largest tax cuts in the history of our country, okay? Larger than the Reagan cuts, larger. But my daughter, Ivanka, She said, Dad, we have to do tax credits for women, for the child tax credits. She was driving me crazy. Then I did it, and I got it just about done. Dad, you've got to double it up. I said, Ivanka, it was actually more complicated than the entire bill, but I got it done. And what we're going to do, and I'm going to make, because I understand exactly what you're saying, we're going to readjust things so that it's fair to everybody, because it's really not fair to everybody. But we have a lot, and we're going up higher, but we're also going to readjust, because you have to make some readjustments. It's unfair to some people, and we're not going to have that. But she was the one that got it started. You know, those were our credits. Those were not the Democrat credits. A lot of Republicans said, rightfully, don't do it because we never get credit for that. You know, we're not known for that. But the truth is, I wanted to put it all in the form of the tax cut. So I got the maximum tax cut, but we're also bringing down the taxes for companies and for people. We're bringing it down to 15%. And for companies, only if you make your product, build your product in the USA. Otherwise, you don't get it. So it'll be good.
I want to ask you specifically what your vision is for people in this country who are going to have to readjust to price setting now. We will never go back to what we had. And even though the inflation rate has slowed, the prices are so high, they are just getting higher at a slower rate.
Yeah.
So what happens to the economy such that people can afford bacon that's gone up 28% in cost? Like, what do we do?
So I feel so badly about what's happened, because none of this would have happened. Just to start, there wouldn't have been a war in Ukraine and Russia. There wouldn't have been an October 7th in Israel. There wouldn't have been this horrible, most embarrassing day in the history of our country with Afghanistan, where we lost 13 soldiers. But they never talk about the soldiers that are so badly wounded. I mean, with legs and arms and face obliteration, all these things. And there wouldn't have been any inflation. And it's so sad to see. We have to get prices down because the damage is done. You know, when they say, well, we're stopping inflation because it went down now to 4.5%. Well, 4.5% is very high. It's very high, meaning it's going up because it was at 3%. But it was at one point, I believe, 40 or 50%. Because if you look, they didn't include a lot. They didn't include, I had interest rates at 2%. They went to 10%. But at 10%, you couldn't get the money. So they weren't at 10%. They were much higher than 10%. We've got to get the pricing down. It's this big lump.
So how do you?
And we've got to do. Well, I'll tell you, everything starts with interest rates. If you get interest down, but it all starts with energy. We have more energy than anybody. We don't use it. We go to Venezuela to get their tar. You know, they have tar, and we have to refine it. We have the only refinery that can do it is in Houston, Texas. So if you're an environmental person, this stuff is pouring up. It's the worst stuff. We have the best, most beautiful, we have the best and the most. And we have to get, if we get energy down, and I'm making this pledge here, but I have made it a couple of days before, so, you know. But energy, your energy bill, which is a very big bill, will be down 50% starting on 1 year from January 20th. We take office, if we win this election, and I just, you know, it's beyond like, I didn't need to do this. I really didn't. I saw what was happening, and I said, I have to do it again. We had a great election in 2020. We had an election that was much better than 2016.
Let me ask you this.
And I said, we have to do it again. We're going to get the prices down. We can't just leave them up there because it's going to take too long for people to catch up. That's why I did the social security.
I mean, we have to like reset. I don't know how you reset to prices that are 4
You can
times
get the prices down.
So let me ask you,
by the way, energy brings everything down.
How does it trickle down? Does it work that the energy is also cheaper for the companies and so that the distribution? How does the pricing actually happen? Because the interest rates have come down and inflation rate has come down. But it's like we are going uphill constantly with these prices.
But interest doesn't come down very much, and you can't get the money. Look, it really happens if you make donuts. You have the stoves, you have the dish. Everything is evolved around energy. That's what caused inflation, energy, more than anything else, including their stupid spending on the Green New Deal. They spent money, so much money, and that caused it also. But the biggest thing was they went away from my energy policy. And by the way, after they screwed it up, they came back because they drill a similar amount. So they say, well, we're doing almost as much as he did. The fact is that 4 years later, I would have been 4 to 5 times more. We would have dominated Russia and Saudi Arabia. When I took over, we were number 3 and number 4 in energy in terms of production. When I left, we were number 1 by far. We would have been double Saudi Arabia and Russia combined. There was nobody going to be close. We would have supplied Europe. We were going to make a fortune,
so you think
including
we can catch
paying.
up?
Yeah, if your energy bills come down to half, which they will, because we have it, some countries could never make that pledge.
Is that, real quickly,
it's going to bring everything down with it.
We're going to take a quick break here. I just want to make the transition to this. You've talked about electric vehicles. What you're setting up is a point where we can do fossil fuel and survive for a little while before we have to make that next gap, that next jump?
Well,
like, what is
if
this a
you have to
transition
make it.
point?
The problem with electric vehicles, and Elon Musk is a very good friend of mine. He endorsed me and you saw him the other night in Butler, Pennsylvania. Was he having a good time?
All right. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come right back. I want to thank you to our audience. You guys are terrific with your questions. There's so much more to come. Really good. So let's take a break. Oh, I see you waving your question at me. Oh, good. Well, the microphone is there. We'll be right back.
All right, so they're going to take a quick break, and that allows me to jump in and talk to you guys. That's how it works here. Almost like a regular show. So I just want to cover something because she's trying to hurry Trump, and he's not. You can tell he's frantic trying to get all this information out. Doesn't need a teleprompter, doesn't need any notes. He's just talking. And in just talking, he's trying to basically condense the information that he's trying to give these women in the audience. Not that they're stupid, but it's a lot. And so when people say, how do you get prices to come down? What he's saying is that the basis of our economy, everything that we do, from the time we wake up to the time we go to bed, is based upon energy. When we don't have cheaper energy prices, everything rises in price. Because everything that you do, from the phone that you have here to the food that you eat for breakfast to the lights that you have on, everything is dependent upon energy. At the grocery store, every single product in that grocery store came on a truck. That truck requires diesel. The more it costs to move that product, the more the store and everybody else has to charge for that product. But even take it a step further, go backwards. You're going to go into a store and buy some food. That food, forget the distribution, the production of it requires energy. Every single thing, the feed that goes to the cattle, has to move to the farmer by a truck. That feed has to be produced in a factory that runs on, yes, energy. What people in the left don't seem to understand or don't seem to care, they think this little windmill out there is going to provide all the energy that we need to do every single thing that we want. Even on the shipping, those shipping containers, to get on the boat requires fuel. To have them taken from the port and driven someplace. By the way, that port strike is still coming. So everything is dependent upon energy. So you can, depending on how good you are with math, you can understand if energy prices have risen by X or Y percent, then everything down that food chain has to rise as well. People are not gouging, as Kamala says. In a hurricane, there may be some opportunists that are gouging, but the general aspect of retail is not about gouging. In fact, the profit margins are very, very small. The profit margins are so small because they make their money on volume. If you guys ever looked at the spread of a bag of potato chips and you look at what they're calling shrinkflation, before the bag used to be filled to the top. Now you open up the bag and half the bag is air. That's shrinkflation. You're getting less for the same or more. More money, meaning. So every single thing that you do, when you wash your hair, when you brush your teeth, it's not just driving to the grocery store. It's not just driving, going to the grocery store and getting your food. Every single thing is dependent upon energy. And the left right now wants to move us away from so-called fossil fuels, another name they just made up out of thin air because of climate warming and all that crap. Not realizing we got it all here. We have it. Why is Trump so adamant and speaks so strongly about, yeah, we're going to bring it down? It's easy, actually. Just start drilling. Now, understand, even from the time that you start drilling, it's going to take probably a year to 3 years for that oil to be pulled up, and it's not like you can start tomorrow and build an offshore rig. Can't do it. It's going to take some time. But at that time, you can start negotiating with the other people that you're getting oil from and say, listen, we're not going to get that much oil from you anymore because we just need a little bridge. And if you bridge us here, we can help you with tariffs. We won't hurt you. So there's all kinds of things that an economically proficient president could do when you got two people right now in the office who don't have a freaking clue. And their ideology doesn't allow them to think like a business person. Trump could walk in, and many of you could walk into any business in the country and go, what's the problem? Well, it's costing us too much to move product. What do we need to do? We need to give me lower energy so we can move this stuff around. You don't walk in, and you can see it right now. Just a little while ago, 7-Eleven announced they're closing 400 stores. Walgreens announced yesterday they're closing 1,200 stores. Why are they closing stores? If everything is so friggin' great, if Kamala can go on a stage somewhere and say that the economy is fantastic, why are they closing stores? Explain it. People are in business to make money. Why would they be closing a store? Well, between the theft that you're allowing in these blue cities and the cost of keeping these stores open, and then you want to make sure people have a living wage, you are strangling business. Business drives this country. What Kamala and Dementia Joe want to do, they want government to be your daddy. So, back to this show. Hope that helped a little bit. Understand a little about the energy. I know he didn't have time to explain everything, and we're back.
Very lively crowd of a lot of women in the beautiful city of Cumming, Georgia. And you are watching the Faulkner Focus, former President Trump town hall with all women. And of course, women's issues are everybody's issues. And we're doing it with the voters asking questions. So please take it away.
Dear President Trump, thank you so much for everything you have done for this country.
Thank you.
You fight for us in the past, you are fighting for us right now, and I know you will fight for us in the future.
Thank you.
My name is Tran Minh Nguyen, and my family escaped the communist Vietnam 30 years ago. And this is my question for you. America is a land of opportunity, and its policy welcomes immigrants legally. How different is your policy versus Harris when it comes to securing our borders and only accepting people to U.S. without causing any issue to our country?
Yeah. On the borders?
Mm-hmm. Well, and people coming legally.
Yeah. We want to have as many people come in as possible, but they have to come in legally. We don't want murderers. We don't want drug dealers. We don't want human traffickers. We don't want people from prison that are being let out after murdering somebody. We don't want to have that. We want to have great people come in. And that's the sad thing. So many people work to come in our country. They've worked for 10 years. They're getting ready. And then millions of people pour through the southern border. They fly them over in airplanes. Nobody knew that until about 9 months ago. They were talking about the border and like they're trying and all this. Look, he's the worst president in history, and she's the worst vice president. She's worse than him. She's worse than him. And she was made the border czar, and she's destroying our country. I don't want to use the word destroyed because that makes it sound like it can't come back, but it's awfully close. She is the worst. He made her border czar. She never even went there. The Border Patrol yesterday, 2 days ago, thousands of them, the whole thing, 100%, unanimous, every single person, thousands of them, they endorsed me, and they work for her. They're not even sure if they're allowed to do it. They said, we don't care. She's so bad. We don't care. Do whatever you want to do. We have to have borders if we don't have borders. But we also want to have people come in. You know, we actually need people. We sort of like all these companies that we're going to bring in through taxation. We're going to bring in a lot of companies. They've got to have people to work. Otherwise, bringing them in is not going to work either. You need the people. But they're going to come in through testing. They're going to come in through, like, do they love our country? Can they love our country? We had Aurora, Colorado, where Venezuelan street gangs have taken over a big chunk of the city. They've taken over apartment buildings. They're in the real estate business, just like I am.
Oh, my goodness.
No, but think of it. They've taken over buildings, and everyone's petrified. The governor of the state is petrified. He's a radical left guy. He has no idea what to do. We can't have that. And you know what? And you see it. Every state is afraid of this, even the ones that haven't been hit yet. Springfield, Ohio, they have 52,000 people. No problems, no real crime, no beautiful community. They just dropped 30,000 illegal aliens in Springfield, Ohio, and it's become a different place. We're going to destroy our country. Our country is going.
Actually,
it's horrible.
You know, there's more to that story. They are here legally. Yep. And there are programs that the current administration has put into place to do those flights. So we recently learned, we didn't have any number to compare it to, so all of a sudden we knew 1.5 million people had come in through those flights. And we know the numbers have lessened at the border because of what they're doing, partially putting, right. Well, I mean, the timing of it is interesting. Right? But the numbers get made up by the people that we can't see in the flights. And all of it has a burden on the economy. So I want to ask you.
And you know, the word is probation. They use a word probation.
That's one of the programs.
In order to get the people in legally, they call them probation. Probation is for prisoners. So they use this in Springfield, Ohio. So you have 32,000 people coming into a 50,000 community. You can't get into the hospitals. You can't get your kids into school. They're taking over the school, and they're looking for interpreters because the people that came in don't speak the language. I mean, other than that, it's a wonderful situation. They're destroying our country.
So the parole that he's talking about, that parole program that he's talking about, is something that has been pretty opaque. And I think now there's a press to find out exactly how many people are coming in through it. We do need to know that. The sustainability of these communities, whether they're red or blue cities or red or blue states, is really at stake here. I have to ask you this, though, because I've spent some time in D.C. and talked with congressmen and women who want to do something on the issue.
Yeah, a lot of people.
But they're divided, and it's a political year. So after November 5th, what can you realistically get done? Because I know you said you're going to deport criminals, and those are kind of the immediate emergency type items. But longevity in terms of legal immigration in this country, what can you get done?
Look, we have a country. It grows nicely over a period of many years. All of a sudden, they're force-feeding millions of people. 21 million people came in over the last 3 years with them. And they're, look, we all have a big heart. We want to take care. We're not going to have a country left. There's no country that can sustain this. We're a laughingstock all over the world. They're laughing at our president and our vice president. They've never seen anything like this. You know, we have another thing. If you touch a foot, if you put 1 foot into our country, congratulations, you have a lawsuit. You don't take the person and move the person into, out. You've got to go through years of litigation. We have lawyers that wait for people to come in years. You got to see the court system. We have thousands of judges at the border. No other country has judges at the border. If somebody walks in, they walk them out. Our country is in trouble. We had the best border policy. You know Tom Homan. You see Tom Homan on your show, but you see,
Mr. President,
he said we did the greatest job in the history of the border. And all they had to do is leave it and leave those people there.
But they didn't.
But they didn't.
All right, I want to give Nancy an opportunity because I think you really want to hear this. Nancy, please.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Nancy. I'm from Milton, Georgia, originally from Ohio.
Good.
But go Dogs. Yeah. And thank you for coming. Furthering the discussion on immigrant crime, along with liberal-run cities where crime is out of control. My son is a Georgia Bulldog. He was on campus the day Laken Riley was murdered. Terrifying for all those kids, right? I wanted to know, how quickly in a sanctuary city, like they're calling Athens, Georgia, how quickly can you remove those threats to our society so that our children can go out on a run, as they rightfully should be able to do, in a park in the daytime by themselves? It should not be like that. And also, I was wondering, I watch television all the time. I see your ads. I don't see a lot of vocalness about these sort of crimes, these hideous crimes in your promotion. So I'm wondering why that is.
Well, we are into it. First of all, we are going to end all sanctuary cities immediately. We're going to end them because they're really...
Is that an executive order you do that with?
They're really... I can do it with an executive order. I'll have to do it with an executive order. You can do it with the Aliens Act of 1798. We can do things in terms of moving people out. We can move them out of the sanctuary cities. You have some liberal, crazy people that they fight. Normally you like to understand the opponent. Like in business, you want to understand what is the opposites, why do they want this? You want to try and figure, why do they want open borders? Why do they want to do this? Why do they want sanctuary cities? Sanctuary cities are really meant for one thing, to protect criminals. That's what they become. We're going to end all sanctuary cities in the United States, and we're going to go back to normalcy. And we're going to have law and order. We're going to we have to reinvigorate our police. We have great police. They're not allowed to do their job. If they do their job with gusto, which is what we want them to be fair. And the sad thing is you'll always have a bad apple and, hundreds and hundreds of arrests, one bad arrest, and it's on the front page of every newspaper. And these people are incredible. They want to do their job, just like the Border Patrol. They want to do their job. We're going to let them do their job, and I'm going to give them immunity. We're going to protect them because they do things and they end up getting sued. They lose their family. They lose their house, they lose their pension, they lose everything. The police officers in this country are law enforcement and sheriffs, everything else. They have to be given back their dignity. They want to do their job. But we become so politically correct. I mean, you look at New York and Chicago and LA and every city, all run by Democrats, okay? Liberal, stupid Democrats. No, and our country...
So, Mr.
Our
President,
country has lost its way. So it's a good question. In other words, we're going to have law and order.
I want to ask you about immunity. You mentioned the bad apples. Does that not incentivize anyone if you give everyone immunity to go after those people on forces that you need to deal with? So how do you balance
People know the bad apples, though. They do. 99% they're just hard. They want to stop crime. You will have you're going to have a bad police officer. And I've seen it where you have a couple of very famous
So immunity
cases.
Doesn't keep you from dealing with that?
No, because if they're going to be some people, you're going to say, we're not giving you immunity. What are you, crazy? Look what happened. Look what you've done. You've been terrible. Right. But most of them are, they just want to do their job. They're prohibited from doing their job. And that's we have to allow them to do their job. They're prohibited from... When you see these hundreds of kids walk into a department store and walk out with refrigerators and air conditioners, and the police are standing there watching it, and they're shaking. You know why they're shaking? Because they want to do their job. They want to stop them, but they're told you can't stop them. You go to drugstores now, you must know this, you go to drugstores, they have glass all over the place. If you want to buy a bottle of aspirin, they tell me, I haven't been in there for a while.
You have to make a friend in the store to open it for you.
No, it's like a big deal.
Yeah.
But who can run a store like that? And they're all going out of business. So I think we all agree.
We're talking about safety. We're talking about crime. Right now, Vice President Kamala Harris is playing some comments that you made to Maria Bartiromo on Sunday. I don't know if you've seen this.
No.
And they're using your words to say that you are not for crime and keeping particularly women safe in ads. I want to take a look at what you said and just tell me, let's watch it.
If we have to.
Yeah.
We have two enemies. We have the outside enemy, and then we have the enemy from within. And the enemy from within, in my opinion, is more dangerous than China, Russia, and all these countries, because if you have a smart president, he can handle them pretty easily. But the thing that's tougher to handle are these lunatics that we have inside, like Adam Schiff. I call him the enemy from within.
Mr. President, Kamala Harris has said you sounded unhinged and unchecked power is in our future. What do you say about that?
I thought it was a nice presentation. I wasn't unhinged. You know what they are? They're a party of sound bites. Somebody asked me, can they be brought together? You know, I never thought really, I wasn't thinking like they could, because they're very, very different. And it is the enemy from within, and they're very dangerous. They're Marxists and communists and fascists, and they're sick. I use a guy like Adam Schiff because they made up the Russia hoax. It took 2 years to solve the problem. Absolutely nothing was done wrong, et cetera, et cetera. They're dangerous for our country. We have China, we have Russia, we have all these countries. If you have a smart president, they can all be handled. The more difficult are, the Pelosi's, these people, they're so sick. And they're so evil. If they would spend their time trying to make America great again, it would be so easy to make this country great. But when I heard about that, they were saying I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the greatest gangster. No, it's true. No, but think of it. It's called weaponization of government. It's a terrible thing.
All right.
They're the threat to democracy.
This is a question.
I'm glad I got that out.
On the recent hurricane response or lack thereof, we've done a lot of coverage, particularly of North Carolina on the Faulkner Focus. It's been a tough 3 weeks, and I know you have a question. Yes.
Hello, Mr. President. My name is Jennifer. I live here in Cumming, Georgia. So the recent hurricanes, as we all know, have had a devastating impact on our country as a whole, and specifically in the Southeast. What policies would you implement to help families and businesses recover financially?
Sure. So we give hundreds of billions of dollars to foreign countries, many of which you never heard of. And I'm not just talking Ukraine, I'm talking about so many countries that nobody's ever heard of, where they're getting tens of millions of dollars a month. And yet, this group of people we have in our White House did the worst recovery or rescue in especially North Carolina that anybody's ever seen, worse than almost Katrina, which I guess really set the example, right?
Compared.
I mean, they're comparing it to Katrina. They're saying maybe even worse. And then they're offering them like a little pittance, and they're negotiating. And I'll tell you, Elon Musk did something that was great. He got them Starlink. They called me. Do you know that one of the top people in they had no communication whatsoever. Then they said, you know Elon Musk? Yeah, because we want to get Starlink if we can, but it's very popular. They don't have it. I said, let me call him. I called him. He had it to them in minutes. Literally before I hung up the phone, I said, I was called while I was talking to him that he just approved it. He's on a different level.
Can you change it? Can you make FEMA better?
Yeah, but it was great with me. FEMA's great. FEMA was so good with me. We had such good people. But they put these radical left lunatics in there. They actually, when Elon had these Starlinks, and they had no communication. They're almost like an island unto themselves. They come on, and they were confiscated by FEMA, by basically the top people, because they didn't want it to go there. And then all hell broke loose, and they got the Starlink. And by the way, it worked incredibly well. He did a great service. Elon did a great service. You know what I like about him? He endorsed me. He gave me the biggest, you know what he said, Harris? So, I mean, look, he's a respected guy. When you can see a guy take that rocket yesterday,
oh my goodness,
and have that sucker come back out of space, all burned up, and he's putting it right back where it's. I said, why do you do that? Because I don't want to build another one.
All right.
He's the only one.
We got to go. We'll be right back with more after this break. And rockets.
Sometimes I hate broadcast television because they have to break up the continuity of a discussion. I understand they got to pay their bills just like all the rest of us have to pay our bills. I found it interesting that she kind of cut that right when he started talking about Elon. Because I know that Fox, just like all the other networks, are completely fearful of Elon Musk. They know what he's building there. The guy's a rocket scientist. He was able to get a rocket to go up in the air and park coming back. If you haven't seen that video Trump was talking about, this thing went up in the air, did all its stuff up there, and came back, and it actually parked. It's phenomenal as you're looking at it, like, is that thing really just slowing down and going to park? And it did. But that's just his other business. You got this business over here with the Starlink, which everybody knows that Kamala and Dementia Joe basically pilfered hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, and said they were going to basically give everybody broadband internet. And okay, here comes Elon with these little boxes and said, here, put this outside and everybody can connect. And he's doing it for this much of the price? So what's the problem there? So everybody, the news, they understand at this point, we no longer have to basically be prisoners of what you're going to just put out there. Remember back in the day with Walter Cronkite, if you guys are old enough to remember, when he would say, and he would close this show with, and that's the way it is. And that's it. You didn't question it. That's all he had to say. Walter Cronkite came on for a half hour at the end of the day and said, that's the way it is. And in that 30-minute show, of news, they would have probably 10 minutes of commercials, so 20 minutes, and you had to know everything that was going on in the world. And now, there's this guy who decided he was going to plunk down $44 billion and completely eviscerate the news media as we know it today. If you have not been on X, I'm going to make sure I start calling it X, you need to get there. And don't abandon me, because we're simulcasting right now on X, so go ahead and follow me and then join our private group, which is blowed up. We have over 4,000 people who are in our private network who have just gotten there in like the last day and a half, 2 days. 4,000 in 2 days. Why is it so appealing? Well, because as you're seeing here, you guys are posting comments, which I love and appreciate and encourage you to be a part of the community here. But the difference is over on X is you, and I've been saying it, you are now the media. When you go into our community, or just X in general, everybody is posting stories and sharing stories and posting videos and doing all kinds of things. One time I showed a video here, and I took a video of my dog sleeping there just to show you how easy it was. I just went, here's my puppy, here's what he's doing, and I just hit a button and posted it. And you can do that in the community. When you go into our X community, you're going to see a video of me sitting in a car, literally holding my camera like that, waiting for my wife and the grandkids. Go, hey, come on in, join us. Join us here in this community. Just talk for like 2 minutes, boom, posted. That one video that I posted sitting in my car for about 60 seconds has over 1 million views. Amazing. Get in there. I can't type a link of where I am, but I'm sure, if Beth or Ashley or anybody who's in here can put the link where you guys can join us. We'd love to have you. So in any words, that's what, back to Elon Musk, the networks don't like talking about him. Trump loves talking about him. And Harris goes, we need to go to a break right now. Get him off that. Hey, what? Get him off that. Don't let him talk about Elon. In addition, Elon is putting his money where his mouth is. He dropped, I think it was, don't quote me on the number, but I think it's something like $50 million more dollars he put towards the Trump campaign in his PAC. And he's out campaigning for Trump today because he knows if Trump doesn't get elected, free speech, as we have known it, because it's already changed. Somebody had asked me in a comment here, Barry, why can't you say certain words? Where is that? Somebody asked me this. Barry, answer this, please. Why are the words that and that not allowed? Well, that's because they've altered our vocabulary here on this platform. They don't like you even saying those words. They're bad words. So I have to say things like baby removal for the A word. And then I have to say things like bad stuff that happened to women by guys instead of the R word. I feel like I'm in a kindergarten. Where on X, I can say whatever I want. You can say whatever you want. You can literally say whatever you want within reason. Don't call people names. Don't be fake. Truly misinforming people. But that being said, free speech lives there. And that's why it's growing in leaps and bounds. And that's why the networks hate him. So we're just about back here. Here we go.
We have so many voters here, all women. Town hall with former President Donald Trump. Thank you. We welcome you back. Let's get right to it. Our topic right now is one that is hot for Kamala Harris and her running mate Tim Walz on the Democratic ticket. We know a lot has been said about abortion and how that particular party maybe has an edge with women over this issue. Your question.
Yes. Hello, Mr. President. Hi. My name is Pamela. I am from Cumming, Georgia, right here, and originally from Danville, California. So facing the question of abortion, women are entitled to do what they want to and need to do with their bodies, right, including their unborn. That's on them regardless of the circumstance. Some are necessary to save their own lives. Why is the government involved in women's basic rights?
Right, good. I think it's great, and I'm glad you asked it. For 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart. Every legal scholar, the great ones, every lawyer, but the Democrats, the Republicans, the liberals, the conservatives, they wanted it brought out of the federal government and brought back to the states for a vote of the people. And like Ronald Reagan, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, life of the mother. I strongly believe. You know, you have to follow your heart. Some people don't. It's a very small percentage, but you have to follow your heart. But you have the exceptions. But what we were able to do is through really the courage of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do this after years and years of turmoil. Now it's back in the states. The states are voting for it. If you take Ohio and Kansas, it was a much more liberal vote than you would have thought. I think it was 20 weeks, et cetera, a much more liberal vote. But now it's where everybody has wanted it for years. And now it's working its way out in the states. Nobody wanted it to be in the federal government. 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, they started talking about weeks and this and that. But what they wanted is they wanted it back in the states for a vote of the people, and that's why we have it. And the states are now voting for it. And honestly, some of them are going much more liberal. Like in Ohio, I would have thought it might
some
be
of them
a
are
little
not
bit different. And some of them are not, but it's going to be redone. It's going to be redone. You end up with a vote of the people. And some of them, I agree, they're too tough, and those are going to be redone because already there's a movement in those states, I know exactly what you're talking about, to redo it. It's back in the states where they can have the vote of the people. It's exactly where they want to be. Remember this issue has torn this country apart for 52 years. So we got it back in the states, we have a vote of the people, and it's working its way through the system, and ultimately it's going to be the right thing. And IVF, you had mentioned before,
right,
IVF.
Let's get this question, because I believe that's what this is about.
Oh, I want to talk about IVF. I'm the father.
You don't hear that every day.
I'm the father of IVF, so I want to hear this question.
Yeah. Hi, President Trump.
Hi.
Welcome back to Georgia. We are so happy that you're here. We're all very blessed to be here with you, and thank you for taking our questions. So I'm the mother of 3 small children, and I have many friends that have struggled with fertility issues over the years while trying to grow their families. And while they're pro-life, they're very concerned that the abortion bans will affect their ability to access IVF and other fertility treatments. So although abortion does lie with the states, what is your stance on that, and what would you say to those women?
So I got a call from Katie Britt, a young, just a fantastically attractive person from Alabama. She's a senator. And she called me up like emergency, because an Alabama judge had ruled that the IVF clinics were illegal and they have to be closed down. A judge ruled. And she said, friends of mine came up to me and they were so angry. I didn't even know they were going, it's fertilization. I didn't know they were even involved in it. Nobody talks about it. They don't talk about it. But now that they can't do it, she said, I was attacked. In a certain way, I was attacked. And I said, explain IVF very quickly. And within about 2 minutes, I understood it. I said, no, we're totally in favor of IVF. I came out with a statement within an hour, a really powerful statement with some experts, really powerful. And we went totally in favor. The Republican Party, the whole party, Alabama legislature a day later overturned, meaning approved it, overturned, the judge essentially approved it. And we really are the party for IVF. We want fertilization, and it's all the way. And the Democrats tried to attack us on it, and we're out there on IVF even more than them. So we're totally in favor of it.
All right, let's talk a little bit with the last few minutes we have about foreign policy. Now, again, these are all issues in talking with women's voters, getting ready for this all-women town hall, that we have been told by all of you, and of course we can look at the polling too, they care about all of it. It all comes down to national security, personal security, and freedom. So your question.
Mr. President, thank you for being here today. I want to thank you for coming into a room full of women that the current administration would consider domestic terrorists. But you're here with us. So thank you.
That is true, by the way.
My name's Alicia, and I live in the infamous Fulton County. I'm a wife and a mom, but I'm also a fourth-generation Army veteran.
Good.
So my question for you today is this. How do we restore peace in the world through American strength while also putting America first here at home?
Right.
I'm concerned that we're still stationed and deployed in Germany, Korea, Japan, NATO, all over the Middle East defending other countries, but we've never been weaker globally or here at home. So how do we get back to a position of strength without having to be the world's police force? And if I may, sir, as a West Point grad, I'd also like to ask that as you work to de-woke our military, that you pay careful attention to the generals that you put in charge at our academies and our OTC programs and the curriculum there.
Wow. I have the answer. I have the answer. I love you. Write my foreign policy, please, because what you just
hire
you know, I was bringing troops back home. I got out of Syria. I defeated ISIS because it was the only way. I started no new wars, as you know. For 79 years, this had not happened. No new wars. I finished off ISIS. It was supposed to take 5 years. I did it in a month and a half. And by the way, we have a great military. When I said do it, they did it. 5 years. You know why 5 years? Because the Washington generals, the guys you see on television, they're terrible. They're terrible. The real generals out in these guys are unbelievable. The job they did on ISIS, unbelievable. Okay, so, and you're right about the academies too. It's all going to be changed. We don't have a woke military. We have a couple of woke guys on the top, a few woke people. When I really got to know them during the fight on ISIS, which we won, we beat ISIS in, like, it was supposed to take literally 5 years, and I did it in a month. Our military is great. You could put these guys in a cage and scream woke at them for 2 years and let them out, and they're coming out fighting. They're never going woke. They're never going woke. Don't worry about it. But
thank you for your question.
But I love the way you phrased that question. It's got to be America first, and we're going to help people. But there's no reason for us to have 60,000 soldiers in this country, 40,000 soldiers, and we never get paid. South Korea, we have 42,000 soldiers there. They don't pay. I made them pay. Everyone raised hell. And Biden took the deal and he said they don't pay anymore. Not since the Korea, and they're a rich country. No, we have to start. We cannot be taken advantage of any longer in trade, in the military. And I love the way you phrased that question. Thank you. That was great.
Thank you to this wonderful live audience in Cumming, Georgia. It has been a pleasure to get questions from you and to see the engagement here with a candidate. I appreciate your being such great Americans. God bless you all. And Mr. Former President, it is great to have you in this great state. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
This has been wonderful.
All right, so that was the town hall with Harris Faulkner. I wish it was longer. I wish they did it in a format where he could take even more questions, but I understand it's the television network and they only allowed it for an hour. But, you know, they did a bunch there in an hour. The contrast, it's not going to be a town hall format, but tonight at 6 p.m., I'll go live at 5:30. I will cover the interview with Kamala Harris and Brett Baier. So let's see how that goes. It's going to be very interesting to see what kind of interviewer Bret Baier is going to be. Is he going to actually ask her questions, or is he going to let her spew word salad and dodge? I have my reservations. I don't think she would have taken this interview on Fox if she didn't feel comfortable. And I think it's a journalist's job to make people feel uncomfortable. Well, Barry, Harris didn't make Trump feel uncomfortable. Well, she tried a couple times. He just happened to understand where he was going and with the point he wanted to make. I don't have a problem if Kamala Harris is asked a question and the answer that she gives is an actual answer that may not be what Bret Baier likes, may not be like what we like, but you actually answer the question. If he says to her tonight, hey, listen, grocery prices are too much, gas prices are too much, what do you got in store? And whatever question he asks, if he doesn't follow up with, well, then why haven't you done it already? See, that's where the problem is, and I think a lot of people in the news are not asking these questions correctly. Kamala Harris should have no platform. Kamala Harris should be working with Dementia Joe, if she really wanted to be president, to do the things that she says she wants to do in January. The race would be over. If she actually did that and said, listen, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to start, but then again, this would have been like 2 months ago. I'm going to start and we're going to get the border put together and we're going to close it right now. Oh, wow, she closed the border. She's going to do it in January. They're going to work on, close it now. We'll work on some bill that she keeps talking about in January. Joe, I want this closed. Okay, closed it. All right, makes sense. Hey, Joe, I think we need to basically start drilling to get the energy prices down. Oh, okay, she's doing it. Hey, Joe, I think what we need to do is make sure we get some vetting done on these newcomers here. Oh, okay, she's doing it. But because she's not doing it and she's done nothing, every single interview she's ever had since she's decided to be installed as a presidential candidate always lacks going after her with that one question. That's how I know this entire thing is rigged with the media, because she can't answer that question. Why don't you do it right flippin' now? I don't care if there's trolls in here. You trolls you can't answer it either. I don't care if you want to call Orange Man or you call him, whatever he did with women or he grabbed them. But that's fine. Go ahead. Say it. Means nothing to me. What means something to me is our country was secure. We didn't have to pay a whole lot for gas. We didn't have to pay an exorbitant amount for groceries. Interest rates were fine, which I don't really care because I can buy a house either way. And the reason being we can do that is because some people shouldn't be buying houses. It allows people like me to actually come in and buy houses cheap. So when I hear Kamala Harris go out there and say, hey, we're going to give everybody money for a house, and they're all going to, we did that in 2007 and 2008. If you guys weren't around back then, go look it up. If you could fog a mirror in 2006, 7, and 8, if you could fog a mirror, you could get a mortgage. No down payment, no income, no requirements. You can get a mortgage. And what happened? Oh, they were predatory loans. What do you mean? Another word they made up. Predatory loans. You gave loans to people who couldn't afford them. Isn't that what a loan is for? I mean, if you can't afford to buy a house, you're trying to get a loan and a mortgage. And you're telling the people who you're giving a loan or getting a loan from that, hey, I can afford this. Yeah, I can afford $1,200 a month. Okay, but understand, you just got an adjustable rate mortgage, and what's going to happen? This thing is going to reset in 36 months, and you're going to be paying $1,800 a month. You good with that? Yeah. You sure? Yeah. Sign the paper. Oh crap! It adjusted. I can't afford it. I got to get out of it, and now it's a foreclosure. So what does Miss Non-Economic Kamala Harris from the middle class know about giving out loans for properties? That's one of her big staples. Oh, everyone should be able to buy a house. No, everyone shouldn't. Everyone shouldn't own Twitter. Everyone shouldn't dunk a basketball. everyone can't hit a fastball coming at you at 99 miles an hour. That's where the left is completely wrong. People do have their place in society. You have the opportunity. There's no one that stopped me from seeing if I could basically throw 3-pointers down. That opportunity was there, but my big ass wouldn't allow me to do it. So I could not throw 3-pointers down. I could hit a baseball, but then I had to run, and that didn't work out too well. Oh, I can put this helmet on and I can bash people and crush. Yeah, that worked. Yeah, I can do that. I had the opportunity to play football. Hey, now you go in business. You went to college, you had the opportunity. Yeah, because you played football. Now you go into business. Okay, now you're there. Am I Mark Cuban? No. But I had the opportunity if I had made different choices. Remember, Mark Cuban wasn't always rich. Mark Cuban started a company called Broadcast.com back during the .com boom, and he sold it for $1 gazillion to Yahoo. That's where he got his money. He tinkered, sort of like Elon, came up with an idea, and it blew up. And that happened to many people, i.e. Mark Zuckerberg, i.e. the guy from, what's his name, Reid Hoffman from LinkedIn. People had the opportunity. You don't deserve to be rich. You don't deserve to have a house. It's not a right. You have to earn that. And that is the problem with the Democrats. They don't like to tell people that you just don't get to do it. Every Monday and Thursday, the trash truck comes through our neighborhood. My dog hates the trash truck, doesn't like the noise. But the guy's driving the truck, and the other guy that hangs on the back and grabs our canister or receptacle, that's his job. Doesn't make him a bad guy. Never going to look down on him. Would never look down. I say hi every morning to them. We give them their Christmas bonus. We do everything for you. Hey, how you doing? How's family? Great, man. Okay, thank you. Maybe one day he'll drive the truck. He has the opportunity to succeed. But you have to earn it. You have to be able to earn your way forward. You just can't have it given to you by government daddy. And that's the difference between what Trump and conservatives think and what Democrats think. They think you should have what I have. Well, I can't have what he has. It's not that's not how any of this works. There are going to be street sweepers. There are going to be servers. There are going to be gas station attendants. That's just how it is. But that doesn't mean that's how it has to be forever. You can be a gas station attendant and then one day decide to start fixing cars. And then you fix cars so well, you have the opportunity to go work in a garage. And then you do so well in a garage, you're like, you know what, I got enough clients, I'm going to open up my own shop. That's opportunity, not giving you money. Hey, listen, we need reparations. No, I don't need you to give me any reparations. Get the hell out of my life. So when people talk about the A word, and that woman was talking about it, and she said something that really struck me, and I'm sure it struck a lot of you when she said that she referred to it as a right to her body. And there's people on both sides of the fence, and people on both sides of the fence will say, well, you also had a right not to do what you did, but everybody's going to do it. We're carnal. We all do it. You shouldn't have to pay a price, but you should also know it's also your choice. See, they never talk about my body, my choice. Well, it was also your choice 9 months ago. You chose to do. And then you want to bail out of it. That being said, just like Trump, I fully believe in I can't say it here, the certain exceptions. I believe in those. I don't think someone should be forced to carry to term something that I hate this. I hate talking about this on YouTube. I can't even say the words, but you know what I mean. The 3 exceptions. That being said, what Trump did with baby removal was not ban it. He didn't ban anything. He just allowed that decision to be made the way the Constitution was written. And the Democrats have been lying about it ever since it happened. There's no ban on it. The people in your state will now decide how it goes. So if you are an advocate for baby removal, then you need to find the people in your neighborhood, in your city, your town, who think like you and talk to other people like you and see if you can't convince more people like you to basically vote in a candidate in your state that is going to give you what you want, which is pretty much the same thing as every other initiative in a state. Down here, we've got some amendments coming up to legalize marijuana. It's already legal in California. So are there enough people in the state you choose to live in that want to have pot legalized? Well, we're going to vote on it. We don't have any income tax in the state of Florida. Notice you don't have any initiatives or people getting together going, yeah, I think we should install an income tax in Florida. Oh yeah, there ain't nobody doing that. Not even on the left. Why is that? Since Kamala is talking about doing unrealized capital gains and want to raise money on corporations and everything else, why is it that the people here in Florida, in this left, we're basically a conservative state, but there's a lot of liberals. Why is nobody complaining about that? They want you to pay taxes at a federal level because, we need it for all these programs. But down here in Florida, we got nope, ain't going to happen. And nobody wants to. I am happy I live in Florida. Why? Because we have certain laws that make it advantageous for us who live here. If you want baby removal, you're going to have to advocate in your state. There is no national ban. If you don't like the laws of your state, step. That's pretty much it. If I wanted to pay more taxes and Florida wasn't, charging me, I could always move to New York. And I could pay city, state, municipal, federal, you name it. I don't know why anybody lives in New York after paying all that. But that's why we live in Florida. That's where you may live where you live. I wasn't born here. I came from Connecticut, where I'm like, how much I want? I don't think so. So anyway, there's always an alternative, I won't even say argument, factual reality to every single thing that people are voting for in this election, whether it be home prices, interest rates, mortgage rates, gas prices, and it's not a single issue election, although the left is trying to make it a single issue election. And everything they've done is completely lie. There is no national baby removal ban on the table. It doesn't exist. There's not a troll in here who can tell me that. Just doesn't exist. It's a figment of your imagination. Project 2025, figment of your imagination. But when you have nothing else to run on because you can't say you would do something when you've had the opportunity to do it, then you get a candidate like Kamala Harris who can do nothing but lie. If things turn out the way we think it's going to turn out, that's going to be their big problem. They should never have run Kamala Harris because she cannot say I'm going to do something when we've lived through 4 years of her not doing it. They could have ran any other Democrat, and the Democrat could have said, and he could have went on a platform and said, I don't like what Joe has done. I'm going to do it different. She can't say that. And that's why her numbers continue to just tank, no matter what they do. Let me see if Polymarket has changed before we check out of here. Oh, it's getting worse. Oh, man, it's getting worse, people. It just keeps getting worse. Something's happening. You can see it. I can see it. 59.5 to 40.3. It's almost a 20% margin. It just keeps moving. And as you notice down below in the map, some of the states are now beginning to turn pink. You can see Pennsylvania is pink. You can see Michigan is pink. What state is this? Yeah, more Michigan's pink. Wisconsin it's going to be pink. He's about to sweep all of these states based on this. Arizona, way ahead. Nevada, slightly ahead. So at this point, it's getting bad. It's getting bad. It just keeps getting bad. Well, I shouldn't say getting bad. It's getting great. It's making America great at this point. Let's see here. So what do we got here? I believe this as well. It is not health care. There is nothing a woman can do about it. I had a friend who left him at a dumpster when oh my God. It's so tough. So tough there. Here's some of these stories. Make it too big to steal. Yeah, that's what's happening. So I got to jump here because I got to put my wife on a plane. Believe it or not, she's got a relative that's actually not a relative, a stepmom who's sick. And she's flying to, of all places, Asheville. She's going into basically that area with what's going on up there. I'm just going to say this. Thank you very much for tuning in on a 10:30 in the morning broadcast. I didn't even know that was possible, that you guys would show up, and it ended up being fantastic. Let me go ahead and acknowledge the Super Chats because... let's see here. Tiger Stacker, Barry, West Virginia House Concurrent Resolution 203 to not recognize the elected president if West Virginia Attorney General determines any state cheated. That's going to be interesting. Wait, November 6th is going to be real tough to watch. I think they're going to freak out like you've never seen freak out. Big Cat, thank you. Thanks for starting early today for everyone. El Chambo, we can't never allow the Democrats to take power ever. Yeah, I want them basically voted into oblivion. John Torres, I used to be Democrat, now registered Republican to vote Trump in the White House to bring our country back. Thank you, John. Patrast, if Vice President Kamala Harris can lie about working at McDonald's, the place where every kid grew up on, what else will she lie about? Look, I got to tell you something about that McDonald's thing. You're gonna laugh if you were here last night. Eric Tate, thank you. Paddlefoot, must quote woke is just communism rebranded. Very profound. Yes, absolutely. Sorry about that. And then Grayjack, hello Barry from Greg in Jakarta in Downers Grove. You guys can't see that, can you? Let me just make that because I want to be okay. In Downers Grove, Illinois. Love your show and keep up the work. Thank you very much. So, two things I want to close with. One, you guys know that tonight Kamala Harris is going to be doing the Town Hall with Brett Baer. I'll go live at 5:30. You'll see a notice go up about that. That should be quite interesting. Secondly, Trump, the ultimate troll, I mean, that he is and how he does things with people. Let me see if I can find this. Where is it? Oh, yeah, you got to see this. This is incredible. All right, so Trump has decided that, I think Friday, he is going to go to McDonald's and he's going to work the fryer-later. He's going to work the fryer-later and just completely troll Kamala Harris. Unbelievable. So that he can say, I worked at a McDonald's and Kamala Harris hasn't. Boss move. Last thing I want to say, I know a bunch of you guys were saying we're trying to get into the private group. I just checked. Ashley, she's busy. I don't know if any of the mods there, but I checked myself and there's like 125 pending people to join. There's no cost. We just have to go through each one. So if you did sign up, we'll see you there in a second. I'll see you guys tonight at 5. Oh, I almost forgot. I'm going to see if I can do the Univision town hall. Trump's doing another town hall with Univision tonight at 9:30 or 10 o'clock p.m. So be on the lookout for that notification. I know sometimes YouTube doesn't send them all out, but we're going to simulcast everything to get the biggest audience possible. I really appreciate all of you that tuned in, especially you new people who've just learned that we've got a huge community of people that love to talk. Talk to you guys at 5:30.